And I said, I motioned to him. I said, Miles, bring your glass of wine and your dinner over and eat with us. And if you want to hear this, I'll start over again. And, you can hear, why I wrote this letter. It wasn't personal really about you, but this is the story of mathematically perfected economy. To our right was this Catholic minister, and he was eavesdropping very intently too, and although I don't know the guy, I invited him to join us at the table. So there's four of us. There's a robed Catholic minister, and Miles, this false praiser of Reagan, dethroned, and this new friend of mine and myself sitting at this table. And I start over again, explain mathematically perfected economy, and I go through the history of it, colonial history, ancient Egypt, all kinds of things. And in the end of this discussion, this fellow Miles, he's a great big guy. He's literally weeping, tears coming down his face. He is thanking me profusely for explaining this to him. All this, his life, this was part of his religion, and he never realized it before. He's crying, thanking me, and I'm gratified, equally gratified. And this Catholic minister, he says something which was amazing. He said something very sarcastic and negative instead. And it was obviously meant to defend the church's doings as if they were an exception to all these rules. And I said something, I'm not one that, you're going to destroy with a stupid insult. And, I just came right back at him. I said, well, that must be why the Catholic Church is the principal landholder in Mexico. And this guy, he gives me this evil look, and he looks down at the table at my steak knife, and he says, I had to take your own steak knife and slit your throat with it. This is a Catholic minister, and there's all these people, these other tables who are hearing this and seeing this. And I took my knife, I touched it with my fingertips, and I turned it handle toward him and slid it across to the corner of the table to him, and I said, why don't you give that a try?
Let me guess what happened.
Yeah, I've never heard from him again.
Oh, Virginia. Just so you're aware, folks, I didn't really put a time limit on the show tonight. I had a feeling, Mike, this was going to run over a little.
I'm not even keeping track. I just don't do that.
No, I don't either. Which is that's the beauty of the whole thing here. I mean, as I said, we want solutions. We look for solutions when we find one, and this is a solution, folks. The chat box is absolutely buzzing here on freemanireland.ning.com. I wish I could even
throw some others at me. I mean,
it's just
you
streaming
stayed up till 4:30 in the morning last night in our first set of visits. And people ought to know that, I think.
Well, but, it's just a continuous stream of questions and comments. It's just continuous. And so what I've said is, look, guys, Wednesday night, it's new. This is brand new to a lot of guys. I appreciate it. Do
we want to touch on a few of these maybe just quickly,
Okay. Well, okay. Again, I'm going to have to scroll back a bit because blah, blah, blah. Okay, banking. Let's take the banking. So let's say, for example, somebody goes into a bank and they want to borrow $100.
Stop right there. Answer the question. There are no more banks.
Bingo. So that was one of the questions.
You instead of a central bank or any banks at all, you have what I call a common monetary foundry, and what it does is it's just software and accounting. We don't even actually need to have physical money, folks. Okay. So what this common monetary foundry does is, if I go in and I say I was on my way to Florida to buy a summer home, and on the way in Virginia I decided to buy a spring home too, and Vince has built this $100,000 house with a 100-year lifespan. Matter of fact, he built it so good it's going to last 200 years. I want to buy this house and finance it over 200 years at $41.17 a month. Am I credit worthy to do it? And yes. I only make $1,000 a month, and by God, I can afford a whole slew of homes.
Yeah, I think this came up because of the example you gave.
This common monetary foundry just looks at my paychecks that have been coming in and says, "Man, he can afford that and then some," and it checks it off. It makes the payments, and if I fail, so many payments, I might have to make so many payments in advance. Which is not a down payment; it's paying ahead.
No,
So
I just think because
that's
the example
my
you
grace
gave
period.
with the machining guy.
They take the house back, and the remaining value of the house satisfies the remaining value of the debt. Nobody loses.
Yeah, no, it's just the example you gave earlier when you were talking about the guy with the machine shop. You said he went into a bank, so that's
Yeah, but there's no more banks. You don't borrow money.
You're
basically just going in to certify your creditworthiness, to assume whatever kind of indebtedness to another one of us you want to, and that money is issued. They're paid in full, and the only matter after that is the integrity of the currency, and we've already explained how we maintain that.
Yeah. Just out of interest, I interviewed a very interesting chap in Alaska, Schaefer Cox. Have you heard of him?
I dare say I'd be afraid to.
Very
was out in the
interesting
bush
fella.
Somewhere.
Very interesting fella. I actually interviewed.
No, I don't know him. I was just
Schaefer is making huge. Well, he himself is not making moves. I mean, he's saying things, and the people are listening, and they are really reacting. I think Schaefer would jump on your information. I don't think he's aware of it.
I think he does ring a bell. I think he actually has been written about me at least. But I haven't heard from him.
Well, I interviewed him. He had to go to the top of a mountain somewhere in Alaska with a satellite phone. It was the only way we could get the interview. But,
Alaska's quite a place. My brother Bill lives there. I worked there for a while. I know it a little bit, and it's quite a place. It's a place for real individuals. And I think I've never seen such diversity as I have there.
Well,
but anyway,
he is doing incredible things in Alaska. They basically have set up their own court system. Be true to your word. It's basically, it boils down to this: not just be true to your word, but be true to the people who live around you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to be able to explain it in a nutshell. If you listen to some of the even just a portion of the interview that I did with him, it's on tnsradio.com. You'll get the idea. You get the idea of this man very quick.
Mm-hmm. Well, those are just general, inarguable principles. I mean,
what I'm saying
most
is,
of us believe in freedom, but what is freedom is liberty prescribed by a limit, which is defined by where we infringe on anyone else's freedom. So freedom has its limitations, but that dictates the very thing that you just expressed. So, no argument here.
No, I think the only thing he's, again, some of the conversation I had with Schaefer was difficult because, again, satellite phone signal was going, blah, blah, blah. He was doing, they are doing, not he, but they in Alaska, the people in Alaska are doing fantastic things, but they are missing the financial system to go along.
Well, actually,
in other words, they have the lawful system. There are a lot of
people up there that are discovering mathematically perfected economy recently in diverse groups and interests.
I'm going to ring him tomorrow anyway and see if I can, get a time slot with him to talk. He's a very busy chap, but
How about any more questions you want to throw at me there?
Sure. Okay. Could you ask Mike his opinion on how resources would fit into the equation, i.e., people own land, resources, etc.?
Well, land is an interesting matter, and I have far-reaching visions on how to deal with land. Basically, existing generations exploit subsequent generations on matters of land, and this denies of our own progeny an opportunity for justice. And monetary justice is just part of justice, and justice is really a very simple thing. But without mathematically perfected economy, you do not have justice. In any case, I have ideas which are not matters of opinion, but they're matters of addressing necessary issues on land. And basically, to get you where you need to go with that is to describe an ideal world. And in an ideal world, say, people who are disposed to live in different ways are free to do so long as they don't infringe on each other's right and opportunity to do that. And there are many things to account for. So I sort of hesitate to give you a quick answer on that one. But basically, I believe that at all times, land has to be set aside for future people to have a right to live on that land as Native Americans had. They didn't have a concept of land ownership. And there's a good reason for this, because it's justice. It's the only justice. If you allow people to own land, they hoard land. And what I would do, now I want to make clear that this is not part of mathematically perfected economy. This is how to address land ownership issues, which are impossible as they exist today to manifest in justice. And so what I'm saying is, a person has a right to occupy so much land as any other person might. They also have a responsibility to reverse any damages to that land that they may inflict upon it, such as pollution of chemicals. They pour their unused paint and thinner out on it, and next thing you know, nothing will grow there, or if it does grow, there's poison in it, and anything, whatever. You don't have a right to pollute. You don't have a right to make a mess and leave it to others to suffer the consequences in a right world. In a right world, we're all responsible for what we do. So in this only possible solution for land, then, is that if we make what we call a city, and we should organize it like the ancient Egyptians, they related to proper organization to accomplish the object. And this is why their society endured for so long, because they addressed needs to organize and to produce, and they fulfilled the needs to do those things. And so I'm saying that what we really need is to set aside so much land so that, a person comes of age, they move out of the house, they want to live in a certain place and work there. There's a job for them, so they can pay for erection of a house. But they get the land, but not exactly for free. If they build a house on it, they have to put up a down payment, which is sufficient to return that land to its former state, if it should ever be necessary to do that. And so I'm saying the proper organization of these things accounts for all the issues. So a person, graduates from school, they get married, and they move off to somewhere, and they want to live on the banks of the Green River in Wyoming, and there's a town, and there's plenty of plots of land for them to choose from, which they get to use to occupy. Now, they might build a home that might last for several generations, and this is part of mathematically perfected economy, which is another thing that people have to perceive. Suddenly, it becomes truly economical to do everything the right way. In other words, we're no longer relegated to, say, producing a can opener in some foreign country, that can opener is what's on our blueprint, but for some reason, when you clamp it down on a can, it won't puncture it, brand new, whereas the one that it's replacing that used to market for $3.49 but now can't. It has to be produced at $7.50 because of artificial indebtedness of the company. Now it's being